Hey there, guys. I hope everybody is doing well today. Your word of the day today is perfidy. Perfidy means deceitfulness or untrustworthy, treacherous. An example would be Benedict Arnold's act of perfidy did not lead to British victory. But I'm going to encourage you to use this word because I think it would come up quite often in the like on the internets when I see people talking about their former girlfriends or boyfriends. They often will say that they were not loyal or that they were untrustworthy. So maybe we need to start using perfidious. Uh, that might sound a little bit better, make you sound a little bit more like you've got a little bit more gravitas behind you. So if you said my man is perfidious instead of my man is unloyal or not loyal, maybe that sounds better. Uh, Science fact of the day: empty space is not really empty. All right, this is very, very strange. So uh, we've all learned that like in the vacuum of space, there's nothing. That doesn't that a vacuum means that there's nothing, but in reality, there are these fluctuating uh, fields. Uh, like there's a gravitational field, there's a magnetic field, electric fields, all these different fields. These fields permeate space, and so they exist all through space in some amount. And just because of the way they interact, there are these fluctuations that cause these little regions of uh, of little pockets of densely packed energy, basically, to pop up, and as a result, particles can spring in and out of existence in those little places. Now that these are not atoms, they're not like helium or hydrogen or anything like that. They're like quarks or leptons. They're really really tiny ones, but they can spring in and out of existence in empty space. Uh, there's a lot more to this than I can get into, to be quite honest, uh, because I don't have a degree in quantum chromodynamics, which is what this topic is. But during your hiatus, if you're interested in looking this up, I guarantee if you do a YouTube search, you can probably find some good stuff of varying degree of intensity going through this. But yeah, fun fact: empty space is not empty. Next up, history fact of the day: Teddy Roosevelt chases some boat thieves. All right, this is just a fun little story. All right, so Teddy Roosevelt. This first part's not fun. Teddy Roosevelt, when his wife died and his mother died on the same day. Yeah, that's crazy. In New York, he basically just said he was an assemblyman. He was pursuing a political career, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna nope out of this, and he went to North Dakota to become a rancher. And so, while he was in North Dakota, he built the ranch. This is the ranch. It was called Elkhorn Lodge, I believe. And there's a picture of Teddy as a cowboy, looking awfully like he looks like the stereotype of a cowboy. It looks like he went into a store and said, "Hey, I need cowboy clothes," and they were like, "Okay," and they gave him like the cartoon version of a cowboy. Anyway, he went up to North Dakota, uh, built that lodge. He had a boat that he was using to cross this river, or that he was going to use to cross this river. And he woke up one morning and it was gone. It was stolen. But he figured he knew who stole it because there were some cattle thieves that were being threatened to be lynched. So he was like, you know what, guys? He had two workers with him, and he was like, you know what, guys? We're gonna go after this boat. So the two workers built him a boat, and then they take off down the river. It was the middle of winter, or it was like spring, and so the river was coated in ice still. It still had like huge chunks of ice in it. So they're floating down this icy river in the middle of like probably early March, late February, freezing temperatures, and Teddy decides he's going to read Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy as he's going down. He thought the book was a train wreck you could not look away from. That was like those are literally his words. He ends up catching them. Then when he catches them, he doesn't know quite what to do with them. Teddy Roosevelt never thought about hanging them. Everybody else in the area would have just hung them and called it a day. But Teddy was like, "No, we got to bring them to justice." So for the next 8 days, he trudges through tries to row back upstream while he's guarding these three prisoners. By the way, this is a picture he took with his own camera of him guarding the three prisoners. Look at him. Look at him. He's so proud of himself with the gun. Uh, and he ends up taking them, gets them back to civilization, and collects the deputy fee of $50. Um, and if you're interested in this, you can read more about it by looking up on Google the National Park Service has a wonderful little thing about it. Finally, book of the day, Days of Rage. This is interesting. It's a book about what happened to a lot of the in the 70s, 60s and 70s. There was these radical groups that emerged kind of from the hippie movement, really, but they ended up they ended up bombing stuff and bombing places. And there was a wide variety of them. There were some that were trying to basically uh, bring about a social change in the U.S., like in the Vietnam War. There were other ones that were trying to like make a statement about black people in America. There was other groups that were trying to bring Puerto Ricans to acknowledgement. Anyway, they bombed places all over the world, or all over the United States, like thousands of bombs in the United States between the end of the 60s and the early 80s. Some were just crazy people that lived in uh, the like woods, and you know basically had a hippie commune, and then others were really sophisticated, uh, you know, well educated people that just had these like radical ideas. Uh, Very interesting. It talks about how the FBI pursued them. It talks about what their ideals were. Talks about why they did what they did, uh, and where they are now. It's a very interesting book. Very interesting that in the U.S. at the time there were bombings almost every day, and no one, like, it got to the point where they wouldn't even put them in the newspaper because they were happening so often. Uh, Anyway, that's it for today. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I guess stay safe.